All right. I have switched over to my iPhone hotspot, so I'm no longer on the coffee shop's Wi-Fi, and it shows excellent connection, so maybe we'll be okay. I pay extra on my T-Mobile iPhone account for a quicker speed on the hotspot, for a faster stream on the hotspot, so I should be okay because it works pretty good. So as a backup, think about on your iPhone using the hotspot and making sure that you've got some high-speed hotspot service on your iPhone. It's always a good connection that way. So I think we're okay now. I probably should have done this earlier. So backing up to what I was talking about, we were talking about branding. That's the name of the game today. We're talking about branding. And I was talking about social media and the importance of social media and the fact that so many people are just missing the boat. They just, for some reason, don't have a clue. And we talked about the 7 platforms that I'm on. And these are the 7 platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And to be honest with you, Snapchat is the one I'm having most difficulty with because it's so freaking hard to understand. It's a different platform, and I've not been able to get on there and really figure out the best way to work on Snapchat, because Snapchat seems to be much more of a person-to-person type of platform between you and your individual friends, and it doesn't seem to be like a community of hundreds of friends. It's just like friend to friend rather than friend to 100 friends, if that makes sense. So I need to do some homework on Snapchat and figure out exactly the best way to get on Snapchat and the various ways to use Snapchat. But all the other 6 I'm on: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And so I'm suggesting that if you own a business, if you're trying to sell something, if you're trying to grow a personal brand, try to develop a personal brand, you've got to be on social media, and you've got to be on those 7 platforms, or at least 6 of the 7. And I'm going to suggest, like Gary Vaynerchuk would suggest, that you've got to post every day 10 to 12 to 15 times a day on all those platforms, spread out over those 6 platforms. If you can post 15 or so pieces of content spread out over those various platforms, then you'll be much better off than so many other folks who are trying to build a presence online. So that's the goal, is content is king, and posting content across various platforms is the way to go. So this idea of the importance of social media, do I have to convince you that social media is important? Surely not. I mean, if you have any doubt that social media is important, why don't you get into chat and let's talk about it. Also, I've been thinking about the fast pace of consumerism these days. People are in a hurry, and they want convenience. That's why Amazon is so great, because you can sit at home and order something off Amazon, and in many cases, depending on the time of day, you can get it delivered to your door that day. For goodness sake. And Walmart, have you seen these Walmart drones, which are now starting to operate where they drop packages right at your front door. There was a story the other day about a Walmart drone that ran into a power line, caused some damage, got hooked up. So there's going to be some issues with that, but they're up there. They've got these drones flying around with packages, and they go to a specific address and drop it and then return to the Walmart for another load. So it's a very strange world we're living in. It's all about convenience, and it's about people being in a hurry and people losing patience. They want what they want, and they want it now. They don't want to wait. So when we're talking about building our personal brand, are we going to be the kind of brand that is going to acknowledge the fact that social media is important and people are impatient? And how are we going to frame our business around that? Customer service is so key to building a brand. Well, I'll tell you, I've got some other notes here that I've been taking throughout the last couple of days that I've been studying some of this stuff, and we'll get to some of this stuff tomorrow when we have a much more stable situation, because the Wi-Fi has really messed me up today. But things have calmed down now that I've switched over to my hotspot, so I feel better. But I think tomorrow I'll whet your appetite. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the 10 steps to building a personal brand. And we'll cover that tomorrow, kind of see where we go from there. But I do want to share with you some Gary Vaynerchuk. Came across this morning, and it's important enough that I think I want us to take a look at it. We may spread it over a couple of days, because I think it's important that we get an idea of the importance of social media.
Strategy for you in shifting your approach and growing online communities and your brand from 15 years ago to today?
To really win with the consumer, you have to have a level of relationship with them, with the collective, that is grounded in a astonishing level of humility and non-transactional DNA.
Okay, what's he mean by non-transactional DNA? Non-transactional DNA. Relationships built on a transaction are over with once the transaction is completed. I have a transactional relationship with the lady working the cash out at Walmart. If I walk through the line and pay for my Walmart package and she takes my money, that's a transactional relationship. And once I pay her and she gives me my receipt, then the relationship is over. I will never see her again unless I come back another day and she's working on another cash register that I happen to see. But there's no relationship there. It's transactional. It's based on the transaction. What Gary's talking about here is that to build a personal brand and to really be successful on social media, we have to have a relationship with that person, with that client, with that viewer, with that person on the other side of the lens. It's about developing a personal relationship. Instead of transactional, a personal relationship, a transformational relationship continues on and on and on for as long as the two are in contact with each other. It doesn't end. It's continuous, and it spurns loyalty and creates community.
I would argue that most people struggle in business and marketing because they are overly emotional about how they make their money today.
Overly emotional about how they make their money today. Why do you say that?
When I'm in those meetings with those CMOs, when I talk about TikTok live shopping, or I talk about influencer marketing, TikTok live shopping, if you talk to a retailer who's got 400 leases around the country and all their cogs are caught up and in stores and fixtures and employees. Me pontificating that in a studio like this, you can sell just as much stuff as your store in Midtown right now. With all those costs, you struggle to go there because we've made the financial commitment there, and we're going to be judged every 90 days because we're a big company, either publicly or in a PE environment. And so you start to say no, not because you're not intellectually strong enough to know that it's happening. It's just that you're emotionally and actually tied up into how you're making your economics now. When I talk about influencers 6, 7, 10 years ago are coming, well, if you just paid Tiger Woods $20 million a year to wear your watch, the concept of like, hey, these kids online can do more for you for hundreds of thousands of dollars doesn't sit well. You're locked into a 3-year, $60 million deal. So if you ask me why things have worked for me or what has been the go-to, it's never fight the market. If the truth is that consumers are now enjoying social or influencers or live shopping, or here's a good one that's going to really bother everyone, AI influencers. If it hurts your feelings as a human, you're against the concept of AI humans on the internet, people that are not real, that are computer generated. If that's your ideology, you're allowed. But if the consumer is consuming that content and doesn't care if it's a real life human or an AI generated human that's communicating to them about a bottle of water or a dress or a blouse or a hat, you're going to lose that game. The customer is undefeated.
Well, that's something to think about. The customer is undefeated. It's all about the consumer. Whether we like it or not, the consumer's going to do what the consumer's going to do. And if a consumer starts buying products online from an AI-generated salesperson, then what are we going to do? Sit there and complain about it? Sit there and hide under the covers and lament the fact that we've got an AI-generated person selling a product? The consumer's always right. We've got to go where the consumer is going. And so many places now, so many sites, so many websites, so many product websites have AI-generated chat going on now, especially when you're trying to get some information about something. I mean, I was looking at a Ford dealership the other day. I was looking at transit vans on a Ford dealership, and I was hounded nonstop by an online AI-generated chatbot. They had a picture of a cute little lady down in the corner as the chat person, and she had a name. Her name was like Barbara or something. And she says, "I'm here to help you," you know. And I know it's a chat bot. It's AI generated. Who are they kidding? And so I can sit there and have a conversation with this AI generated person and ask her about the car and ask her about Ford Transits and ask her about financing and ask her all these details. But then when you try to get something personal or you go outside her particular little algorithm, then she says, and then it's, we'll have, I can't answer that. We'll have to get you in touch with a salesperson or something like that. So it's only going to get worse. We're going, when we go online as a consumer, we're going to be hit by AI generated people more and more and more, and AI generated personalities. So we better get used to it. I mean, it's not going to be too long before an AI generated person like me is going to do a live stream, be totally AI generated. They won't be as good looking as I am, and won't have my thrilling personality. But how long will it be before an AI generated personality has a live stream and hundreds of people will be sitting there and chat, having a conversation with this person that doesn't even exist? So it's coming.
I was not going to ask you this till the end, but your book is dedicated, quote, to the 1% that make consumer-centric decisions versus the 99% that make decisions based on boardroom politics, which seems to tie in to what you were just saying. You really believe that most entrepreneurs are making decisions based on boardroom politics and that 90-day cycle that you just referenced?
No, I don't believe most entrepreneurs are. Entrepreneurs have no choice. They have to be consumer-centric or they're out of business pretty quickly. I believe most executives are.
Interesting. So that's your message to corporate America.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't say it from a place of audacity or disdain. I actually come from a heavy place of empathy. You know, if you're making $613,000 a year in stock options in a big corporation, and you have, your mortgage to pay, and your life is run by your income. To go into a boardroom and throw a bomb in there and say we're doing everything wrong, that's politically vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So I understand how people and why people do what they do. But my point has always been, while I've been in Madison Avenue the last 15 years with all these CEOs, CMOs, board members, CFOs, is I understand why you do it, but it doesn't mean that it's right. Mm. And there's a reason that there's so much decline, especially you look at the CPG space. They used to have substantial moats. You couldn't, if you were a small entrepreneur, you couldn't get into Walmart. You couldn't get into Sephora and Ulta. You couldn't get into CVS or Wegmans. You also didn't have enough money to run television spots. That's all been flipped with Shopify and Amazon and with the retailers needing younger consumers. So now they're taking their shopper marketing dollars from big companies and they're giving it to little companies to come into their stores. Small brands have one TikTok that goes viral, that outsells in product what a Fortune 500 competitor theirs spends millions of dollars in television investment. We have a very big day of reckoning going on right now because attention has shifted to the mobile device and to social networks, and distribution has shifted to Amazon 3PLs, to Shopify opportunities. You don't need to win at Walmart to build a big business. You need to win at Walmart and Target to get to that next tier. Mm-hmm. But you can get to $100 million in revenue today without ever stepping yourself into Arkansas or Minnesota. That is unprecedented in the history of consumer packaged goods. And not just the CPG space. This goes on and on and on. And so look what Melanie did with Canva to Adobe. She couldn't have done that 30 years ago without the internet being where it is now. She wouldn't have had the money to go to the trade shows in Las Vegas and buy a booth for $100,000 to court corporate clients. It's changed.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's for sure. He makes some excellent points about how things have changed because of the technology. It's the consumer. That's the one thing I'm trying to get in my head is that the consumer has moved. The consumer has changed. The consumer has relocated. The buying power has shifted. And so much of it now is mobile. When I look at the analytics on my views and the analytics of the videos that I put out there, it's like 60-70% of the viewers on anything that I put out there in terms of content, 70%, 60-70% is mobile. And then there's a large amount on TV. TV is a growing trend. More people are watching YouTube on their television sets at home, on their flat screens hanging on the wall above the fireplace. So between mobile and TV, both of those together, that's going to make up 80% of the viewing audience. And it really was a surprise to me because I view most of my stuff on my desktop computer or my laptop. And that only makes up about maybe 10, 15, at the most 20% of the viewing audience. So I'm in the minority. Most people are watching and consuming content on their mobile phones and beyond that on TVs. And then third place, and then comes along the desktop computers. So all of that affects how we're going to produce content. It's interesting stuff. So, well, we've been talking about building a personal brand this week. And yesterday we defined a brand. We defined a brand as result. Brand equals a result. Brand is not logos, it's not flyers, it's not websites, it's not even a YouTube channel. A brand is the result that takes place in people's minds. What they think when they see you. So instead of one brand, you're not creating one brand, you're creating millions of brands. You're creating the number of brands that people see, that it's the number of people that are watching and seeing your product. That's how many brands you have, because everyone's going to have a unique viewpoint. So a brand is like a reputation. It's like your reputation. It's like your character. It's your personal take on life, your values, your core values, your beliefs. That's what brand is. It's the result of the things that you do and the impact that has on people watching you, people looking at your brand. And employees, culture, reputation, those are all a big part of it. I was watching yesterday a video about a couple who were in their van traveling through Kentucky, and they visited, their goal was to visit 18 whiskey manufacturers, or I guess they're called, what do you call them, whiskey brewer? They were going to 18 different whiskey manufacturers there in Kentucky, what's called, I guess, Whiskey Row in Kentucky, where you've got all of these major manufacturers of whiskey lined up that you can hit within a couple of days, and they're going to try to hit 18 in 2 days. And they went to Maker's Mark, which is a major player in the bourbon whiskey industry, Maker's Mark. And it's a major brand, one of the largest in the world, if not the largest in the world in terms of that particular area, of liquor, bourbon, and whiskey. Maker's Mark is perhaps the largest brand in the world. Well, there was something about the way they came across as so corporate and so cold and so less personal to this couple that they really didn't like it that much. They were not that impressed. It was more like going to the Maker's Mark headquarters was more like a Disneyland park. I mean, there was so many things to do. They had a restaurant, and they had tours, and it was almost like you could spend 2 or 3 days just going through all of the events and stuff that they had there, and it was real corporate. And so it was like the culture of Maker's Mark was affecting this couple as a consumer, and that particular slant on the brand did not have a very positive impact, to where the couple visited a small local winery earlier in the day, or a whiskey brewer, and it was a much more of a personal brand, where they were treated much more personally, in a personal way, much more friendly, and it was less corporate, more personal. And that brand they liked better. So when we're talking about brand, the way your reputation, the culture that you create, and your employees especially, one employee can damage your brand. If you have one employee of your company treat a consumer in a bad way and give them a bad taste in their mouth, it can have a devastating effect on the brand. Because what if someone that customer What if that consumer was a celebrity of some kind, or had a major audience on YouTube, or was a major influencer in some way, and then they had a bad experience because of one employee? That influencer or that person now has the ability to go to millions of their followers and give a bad report on that experience. And because of one employee's rude behavior to a major influencer, millions of followers of that influencer could now be affected and be given a negative report. So you just never know. So all of that is tied up in this idea of brand, personal brand. Well, we were going to talk about style today. I'm just going to touch on it since our time has been taken up with Wi-Fi issues. I am going to go down to my trusty iPad. And where is it? Pull up my notes on crafting a style. When we think about building a personal brand, we want to think about our own visual style, how we can stick out, how we can be unique in our style. And this comes down to the way your thumbnails work, for example. Your colors, fonts, the way your thumbnail looks needs to be consistent. Which colors feel like you? Which colors fit your personality? Can viewers spot your thumbnail without reading it? There are some YouTubers that I don't even have to look at. I know their thumbnails just by a glance because they are so consistent in their thumbnails. Let's see if I can find an example. What about Lex? Look at Lex. His thumbnails. Look at all these thumbnails. They're all just alike. And when I'm strolling through YouTube, looking at thumbnails, all I have to do is look at these and look how similar they are. Every thumbnail is the same. And so when you're streaming through YouTube and you're looking for things to watch, I immediately recognize Lex Fridman's thumbnails because they're distinctive. They're him. That's his brand. He's got the same colors working. He's got the same format, the same design. So that's what we're talking about. When we talk about how your brand, your thumbnail should reflect your brand and they should be consistent. Can viewers spot your thumbnail without reading it? The second point I have here is simple, repeatable visuals stick. Over and over and over and over, when people see the same thing over and over and over and over again, it sticks. And it's something usually simple. Can you keep your look consistent for months? Does your brand look the same in your shorts, long form, and live streams? So you want everything to be consistent. You want to be consistent across all platforms. And come up with a color palette, come up with a color scheme, a font style, and be consistent. Visuals that match your personality. This is something else in terms of being consistent. Are your visuals warm, bold, minimal, artistic? Do you match the tone of your voice and on-camera presence? Now, it's an interesting thing we were talking about. It's an interesting thing about Lex. When he is on screen, he's always wearing the same clothing. He's wearing a black suit. And it goes along with this thumbnail. The use of the color black. Everything is sort of blacked out. Well, when you see him on an actual podcast, he's wearing that black suit. I was going to see if I could get a picture of him in his black suit. But he wears basically the same black suit on every podcast. And so it's this idea of a minimalist approach. Black, white, black tie, black suit, white shirt. It's sort of his brand. It's the way he looks on every podcast. And then evidently it fits his personality, because as an engineer and as a very smart, intelligent person, that black and white color scheme sort of fits his personality. It's not like he's got a personality that is, like really crazy and humorous and clownish. He's not going to have a lot of bold colors. It would be out of character for him to wear a really bright yellow shirt and a red tie. So, do they match the tone of your voice and on-camera presence? Your background, camera angle, wardrobe, what do people associate with you visually? If someone drew you as a cartoon, what would they include? Oh, Lord, have mercy. Somebody draw me as a cartoon? Well, you'll notice that most of the time, all of the time I've got something on my head. Most of the time I have this hat that's turned around backwards. If you notice on the live streams, all of my live streams, I'm basically wearing the same hat. And you may be asking, well, why have I got my hat turned backwards? Well, if I do it this way, for one thing, I'm bald, so I always wear something on my head. But if I do it this way, you'll notice this shadow across my face. This is not good to have this shadow across my face, and so I need to turn it around this way to take the shadow off my face. But if I go totally bald and go without a hat, then you have an issue of my head, with these LED lights, my head has a big white spot on it. So part of my regular way of dressing is to have something on my head, usually a turned around cap, and I always wear this bandana. I always wear a colorful bandana around my neck. That's becoming my signature style, is to have a bandana. Now, there's a reason around the bandana. The reason is because I had surgery on my neck due to some skin cancer, and I've got a huge scar on my neck right here on this side over here. And plus, as I get older, I've got this rooster sagging of the chin happening. And so I like keeping my neck warm. So I've started wearing this bandana, and I started wearing this bandana a couple of years ago after I had that surgery on my neck. So that's becoming part of my signature style, is the turned around hat and a bandana. Creators with iconic looks. What can you borrow from their approach? What made their looks memorable? Well, what is it about someone? Can you think of somebody who's got a memorable look? Someone who, like a celebrity, or can you think of someone? Johnny Cash was always wearing black. He was the man in black. I think about Chris Doe. We had Chris yesterday talk to us a little bit about personal branding, and Chris Doe has a particular style, he's got a particular look. And I was going to see if I could find Chris. Well, let's see. Hang on. Sorry about that. Because he's got a distinct style. If I can find him here. I was pulling up his Instagram page. Boy, that's slow. My Wi-Fi. Still. That Instagram won't open. Well, welcome to live streaming. I'm going to pull up his video, see what his thumbnails looks like. These are his thumbnails. Now, what do you see about Chris Doe that might be a signature of his dressing style? Do you see some things that are common here? And like I use a bandana because of the surgery on my neck, there's reasons that he's wearing that hat and those big glasses. He's got these humongous black framed glasses, and he's usually wearing a hat of some kind. And he has started to wear these hats with the tape across the wording across the top. See the tape? The tape that marks out the text on his hat as a signature style, and he wears these big, humongous glasses. Well, he's bald like I am, for one thing, and so he's always going to wear a hat. He said he was bald, and so he wears a hat. And the reason he wears these big black frame glasses is because he's real nearsighted. And he has to have these glasses with, you know, these thick lenses, because he's probably almost blind unless he wears these glasses. And so he leaned into it and said, okay, if I'm going to have to wear glasses, I'm going to make them a part of my style. I'm going to make them noticeable. They're going to be a part of me, part of my style. So I'm going to wear this hat because I'm bald, and I'm going to wear these big, thick glasses with big black frames because I'm blind. So that's what we're talking about here. An iconic look. What is it you can do about your look, about your style, that would be memorable? And that'll help you and help me with my brand. So I'm gonna lean into the fact that I'm also bald, and I'm gonna wear a hat. I'm gonna wear my hat backwards, and I'm gonna wear a bandana. So there you have it. Well, just to sort of regroup here, it's been a strange day because we started off the coffee shop Wi-Fi, and the coffee shop Wi-Fi was very, very unstable. It was all over the place, and it cut me off a couple of times, and I had to restart and it would show excellent and then clip down to nothing. It was like somebody was flipping an on-off switch. And then finally, after about 10 or 15 minutes, I switched over to my iPhone hotspot, and I've had excellent connection since then. Ooh, excuse me. So it's been a weird day to begin with. Now, in post-editing, when I go in and download this stream and edit out all of that garbage, then things will be much better because I can edit out the problems we've had. But it's been sort of a strange day all the way around, so I think we need to just stop right there and thank our lucky stars we made it this far. So my name is Mitch. I'm coming to you live from the coffee shop, Lamppost Coffee Shop here in the Austin, Texas area, and I come to you weekdays, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, December the 10th, at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And hopefully we'll give the Wi-Fi another shot and see if the coffee shop Wi-Fi is going to cooperate. If not, then we'll hop back onto my, I'll be prepared to jump on my hotspot and we'll try to continue on. So we're talking about branding all week. And so if you're interested in building your personal brand, come back tomorrow and jump into chat and let's talk about it. Thanks for being with me so far today, and I do appreciate the time. So go out and have a good day and do something nice for somebody. We'll see you tomorrow.
And wave your board, ba-da-ba-da-ba